Hello guys and gals and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Sorry, my chinchilla had a bunch of fluff sticking out of his butt here. I was trying to help him clean it up. Look at all that fluff. That's a lot of fluff. It's so light, it's like feathers. Today we're going to be looking at another unique item, which is known as Yen's Blessing. Yen's Blessing is an interesting new unique that was added in, I think, Season 4, but they've beefed it up a little bit for Season 5, and I wanted to do a 1.50 version of this. This is Yen's Blessing. Yen's Blessing does have 3 maximum evade charges, which is usually what people prefer for their passive boot aspect. And on top of this, it also has 28 to 42 all stats, which is really nice. All stats, of course, doesn't just enhance your main stat, which is your damage stat, like for instance you're in a sorceress. It also enhances all the other stats too, like for instance gives you some crit and some dodge chance with dex, gives you some overpower and healing bonuses, and resource generation bonuses with willpower. It gives you some armor with strength and whatnot, and resistances with intelligence. So it's definitely not like a bad stat across the board, and it also helps you activate those paragon nodes that you might not have otherwise activated. On top of this, it also has a pretty nice movement speed bonus of 12.5 to 18%, and it also has a massive resistance to all elements of 26 to 35%, which could definitely be nice to help cap out your reses, on those lower level characters and maybe barbarians that generally tend to suffer with resistances. And there's a couple characters that definitely don't do the best with this particular resistance. Now, sorceresses, on the other hand, they don't really have an issue. Neither do necromancers for the most part either. We also have resource generation on here of 12%, up to 12%, which is really nice. And that's going to help, of course, across the board with any type of resource generation that you have going on. We also have the meat and potatoes of this particular item, which is the unique effect, which is casting a skill, any skill, has up to a 60% chance, to 40 to 60% chance, to cast a non-mobility, non-ultimate skill that is currently on cooldown. It can only happen once every 8 seconds. Now, you might be wondering, what is this useful for? Okay, well, I can cast one extra ability once every 8 seconds. Well, there are certain things that you really would kind of like to have up on like a full-time basis. And why has he got so many little tufts of fur sticking out? He is shedding like a crazy little monster here. Little crazy shedding monster. Sorry, I don't mean to include that in the video, but it was bugging me. Like, he's got all these little tufts sticking out, and they're tickling my face. So basically what you can use this for is you can have an ability like permanently off cooldown. Like say for instance that you had, let's use a good example. Let's say you were using ice armor. So let's go ahead and put ice armor on here just for right now. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to cast ice armor, right? And now we have our ice armor effect. Well, ice armor doesn't last really that long, right? And then it's on cooldown for a particular period of time after that. So we've got like a 6-second time period before ice armor comes back up, right? Well, with the Yen's Blessing on, you could potentially cast ice armor, attack a couple times, and potentially get a second cast of ice armor somewhere in the middle, keeping ice armor active basically the majority of the time that you are utilizing it, right? So you have this opportunity to cast another one. See, I got a free cast of ice armor there because it was on cooldown. And of course, once ice armor runs off, I can use another one, and then I can start attacking again, and Yen's Blessing will give me another cooldown, another use of ice armor. So basically what you're getting here is you're getting the ability to keep one skill, essentially, off of permanent cooldown by essentially getting a free cast of it in the middle when you would otherwise not be able to cast it again until it resets.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
And this can be extremely useful in some ways, but not in others. Like, for instance, if you're trying to get say, like permanent uptime on Flame Shield or permanent uptime on Ice Armor, or maybe you want to make sure that your shouts never go down on your Barbarian or something like that. Whatever it may be, like it's going to be a lot easier if you have a free cast of it going off as you are attacking. And even though this only happens once every 8 seconds, if the cooldown of the ability is 13.44 seconds, you cast it, it lasts for 6 seconds, and then somewhere after 6 seconds, after it has finished its, thing, and it's still on cooldown for another, say, 7 seconds, you get another free cast, which lasts for another 6 seconds, and it's far more likely for that to last for the entire duration. So Yen's Blessing can be extremely useful for that reason, to keep a skill basically permanently off of cooldown, and definitely very, very powerful in terms of certain abilities. I've actually kind of like worked this into several builds so far, including things like the Flesh Render build, which is basically just a bunch of defensive skills, and every time you cast a defensive skill, you get a pump of damage coming from Flesh Render. You can also utilize this on your Barbarian to get like permanent uptime on your shouts, and honestly, there's just a lot of very good uses for this, and I'd love to hear some of the uses that you guys have for this, because that would be kind of neat too. It does have a flavor text. It says, these greaves are imbued with the divine blessing of Yen, the Veradani, goddess of restoration. They bestow the wearer a revitalizing strength that enhances their own. Now, if you are looking to get your hands on these, we do have a tool that you can use on Diablo 4.life. It is the unique item target farming tool, and you can go in here at any point. You can just click on Yen's Blessing, and it will show you that these drop from Lord Zir. So if you want to farm these, you're going to want to farm Lord Zir to get yourself a really nice pair. Overall, they're definitely very impressive boots. The resistances to all elements is a little specific to the classes that actually need that resistances, but all the other stats are pretty decent on these as well. And obviously, it has the evade charges that people are interested in. I do think that they make a very interesting addition to, like the cross functionality of like creating very interesting builds and offering another way to potentially keep, a specific skill active over others, which is rather neat. Um, Obviously, once every 8 seconds isn't always going to be useful, especially if you have a skill that you're spamming to the utmost. One extra cast of a skill that you're spamming might not necessarily be the most important. I feel like this is more geared towards skills that you don't necessarily spam, that you might just want to have with 100% uptime and overlap. So that should be really interesting. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about Yen's Blessing. And if you enjoy the content, if you enjoy the channel, be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. And as always, keep watching.